Ho 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 everyone, and welcome to this last video on handwriting repair. Today what we're going to look at is numbers, flourishes, and every other stuff you don't really think of when you teach handwriting. So first, a lot of you will probably going to want to learn numbers. Actually, the Spencerian method teaches numbers a lot because it was used at first for accountants and penmans, which obviously would use a lot of numbers. Now, one thing to know about numbers is that they do not follow the same rules as other letters, because they don't come from the same part of the world at all. Numbers come from Arabic, and our letters come from Latin, which are two separate things and have two separate set of rules. So we're just going to dive into that. Let me first of all make our good friends the slant lines. There you go. Okay, so first one is pretty obvious. There's no fancy thing, it's just this. When you use actually a flex nib, so what calligraphers use today, but what used to be pretty popular back in the early 20th century, you would do something like this, but with the flex you'd get a nice flex going like this, which looks a lot more like a one. Now we just do like this, obviously, because we don't have the flex anymore. If you want to make it more obvious, just add a little stroke here, but I think it looks fine. When you're writing big numbers, just a straight line looks a lot like a 1. 2, basically we know the 2 that goes like this, and Spencer would just add that tiny round here, just makes it a bit fancier. 3 starts the same way, so you have the fancy thing, and then you're basically going to do a reverse capital E. If you remember capital E, which was like this. This is basically the same thing in reverse. 4, basically one thing you have to remember is the horizontal line first has to be completely horizontal, because you don't follow the slant on horizontal lines. The second thing is that it's quite close to the baseline. So your baseline is here. What we usually taught is if your baseline is here, you do something like this. In Spencerian, it's got a very kind of low horizontal stroke, then a very large middle stroke that looks like that actually is the same stroke that you get in capital letters, you know, if you remember, like this. That's the same stroke. 5, again horizontal, so you don't follow the slant, and then vertical, so you follow the slant. Then a small curl, and you come back up and you stop. 6, I like Spencerian 6 because it doesn't try to hook back here, try to aim for this. You just kind of dive down. So when you're writing really quickly, it's kind of complicated to get the 6 we've all been learning, which is this one. You have to get it right, stop at the right place. This one doesn't really matter, just dive in, and that's a 6. 7, horizontal line, no slant, slanted line. Well, with the slant it's a bit more like this. Nothing else, pretty easy. The 8 is really hard to get right, but it's made on purpose. You start somewhere here, so about 3/4 of the way up. Dive down, go a lot more slantish, go back, up, here you go. Once again, don't try to aim to come back at the right place. it just wastes time, you just come back up. The reason it's so hard to get is because it starts as that really odd place. Why? Because when you start here, you have to get the first two strokes here right, which is in contrast to this one, where it's harder to get right proportions when you start by going up and then down. It's a lot easier when you're going down and then up. 9. This one you have to get the going back up right. It's like this. So this one is maybe the hardest to get because you've got to get that stroke and that stroke to come back at the same place, then the stroke after that to be kind of natural and organic. 0. In 0, you have to come back exactly at the right place as well. Why? Because then it distinguishes it from capital O, which was this one, which does not, these two ends does not meet. They do meet in capital 0. So be careful with that. That's the numbers. What I would say is, with the numbers, because they don't follow the same rules, you can get a lot more creative with them. It doesn't really matter. Then let's talk a little bit about every other stuff, like exclamation points. How do you do them? Well, I would say, because most of the crash courses on Spencerian don't really go into detail on how to do these, what I would say is just remember the rules I've given you about slant, about the way your arm moves, about getting these really nice smooth shapes out of your writing, and just apply the same thing to everything else. So if you're having, for example, a dash here, instead of trying to make that really crooked line or going down with the slant, just make a nice horizontal line or add a bit of flourish here. For exclamation point, just go with the slant and then a dot. For interrogation point, just try to make it really look organic, you know, just that nice smooth curves, and you can apply that to pretty much anything, you know. If your alphabet is different, if you've got like alphas, let's say you're a math student, that looks like a fish, you know, you just have to just go with it. Remember everything I've taught you and try to apply it yourself and get your own style out of these small things. Ellipses, try to get them, when you get large spaces between the ellipses, it gives more of a style. You know, just try to find these small things that do make a difference. Now let's have a small note on flourishes. I don't know how many of you are actually going to use flourishes. I do in my daily writing when using capital letters. I just use very small flourishes, kind of always the same one or two flourishes. Let's say for a P, for example, I would do either like this or like this. You know, just learn one or two ways to flourish your letters that can be easily applied to any letter. So for example, A has the same rule. It's either A or A. You know, and just try to apply that when you have time to write flourishes, because they make your writing look a bit more pretty. How to kind of invent flourishes, how to get creative with them. Well, there are two rules which most books quote, which are pretty much spot on, is when two lines are not crossing each other, they should be almost parallel. And when they are crossing each other, it's got to be perpendicular. So none of that, you know, that your flourishes can't really go like this. It just ends up looking kind of wrong. Make it really, so it's, look, it's parallel, these two are parallel, and then when it crosses really in a really nice X shape. One thing to remember is you can switch which orientation you're going, so start clockwise and then go counterclockwise. Most of the time though, as you can see here, it's going to look wrong. Why? Because you have to give it some space to turn around. So if you're going clockwise, cross it at an X and give it some space, then change the orientation. That's actually a kind of drill. It's this one, where you try to cross it and then give yourself time, and here you go. So you change your direction while making it look not too odd. This helps with long flourishes, especially if you have many strokes. So for example, if I do my P again, I go back up like this, being careful to here have these parallel, have this one cross like next. Then I add another stroke like this one. Here you go. So these two cross here, this one across here. This is all kind of perfect X shape. Then you have these two which are supposed to be parallel, which are parallel with this one as well. So just remember that. Try and play around with it. Try and find one or two kind of flourishes that you like, and just repeat them for absolutely every majuscule you do. Yeah, that's about it for me. If you have any questions or anything else you want to learn, I'm pretty much here. I listen to your comments. I usually reply to them with stupid, witty comments. So yeah, don't hesitate to give me a private message. I'll give you an answer as quick as I can, which is usually pretty quickly. What I was thinking of doing next is a signature writing video, which is a kind of Spencerian script-ish flourishes type style, which is incredibly complicated to get right, and you're supposed to do it with calligraphy nib, flex nib. But I think you can make really nice signatures. For example, if I'm just talking out of my ass, let's say Barack Obama's signature. You know, just being able to do these kind of signatures. This is not the official signature, I just made that up right now. But doing maybe being able to do these signatures. I've got my personal one, but obviously I'm not gonna show you my signature. So if you're interested, maybe comment and I'll see if you actually want to do this. I'll learn a bit more about it, and then I can teach you how to make your signature look pretty. So yeah, that was basically it for the course, and if there's anything you want, just message me. Old time gentleman, out.